2025. In attendance I have Councillor Brogan, Councillor Buchanan. I don't have Councillor Matthew Buchanan. I should have said that's Archie Buchanan. Apologies, thank you. I don't have Councillor Kalikas. I have Councillor Jerry Convery. I don't have Councillor Cooper. I have Councillor Cowan. I have Councillor Cowie. I have Councillor Devlin. Councillor Dewar. I don't have Councillor Fagan. I don't have Councillor Faulkner. Oh, we'll get someone to contact him. Thanks, Councillor. Is that okay? Thank you. I have Councillor Grant Ferguson. I don't have Councillor Fulton. Don't have Councillor Gowland. Councillor Jerry Gray. Can I just double check? Councillor Frame, are you subbing for Councillor Gray?
She wants to come in. Just bring in just now, Elise.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I'm subbing for Jerry Gray today. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I have Councillor Ross Lambie.
Ross is online.
If Ross came online.
There are a few online.
Yep, he's online. I don't have Councillor Lennon, Councillor Lockhart, Councillor Mars, Councillor Ian McCallan, Councillor McCreary, Councillor David McLachlan's chair. I have Councillor Ray, Councillor David Shearer and Councillor Kirsty Williams. We also have a number of officers in attendance. At that, I'll hand over to the Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Lynn. So welcome again. It seems as if we're seeing an awful lot of each other these days. So thanks for your patience. The first item on the agenda is declarations of interest. Does anyone get any declarations? Julia Mars.
Thank you, Chair. I would declare an interest on item 6 on the basis of previous involvement with the applicant.
Okay, thanks very much. Item 2 is the community asset transfer of Fernigare Hall, Hamilton. Jeremy McFarlane, please.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. The purpose of this report, which is contained in pages 5 to 9 of the papers, is to advise the committee of the request for a 25-year lease of Fernigare Hall by the Martial Arts Community Hub and seek approval to the principal terms and conditions set out in section 5 of the report. Fernigare Hall was formerly managed by South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture, and following a review of its business plan, the board announced it couldn't sustain service delivery from a number of facilities, and as a consequence, control of the hall was returned to the council. The Martial Arts Community Hub applied for a concessionary one-year lease to enable them to operate the property while organising a full community asset transfer application. And this was approved in June 2024, and the organisation took occupation in August 2024 and has been managing the hall successfully since then. The organisation has submitted a formal community asset transfer request for a 25-year lease of the subjects to enable the facility and the organisation to further develop. The validation date was 6th of September, at which point the application and supporting documents were placed in the Council's planning portal with no material comments or objections received. The organisation is a SCIO, which is a Scottish Charitable Incorporated Organisation, established solely for the purpose of operating the hall. And prior to this, both key participants operated highly successful independent organisations in the Lark Hall area. The proposal is for the organisation to deliver martial arts classes within the hall during midweek evenings and then hire the hall to the local community and interested organisations at other times. During the concession lease, the applicant has been successful in retaining and growing hall lets, as well as establishing and centralising their already successful martial arts activities. And the grant of a 25-year lease will allow the organisation to continue to develop and facilitate the facility to grow for a long term with security of occupation and relieve the council of the costs of empty property. The council has no alternative operational requirement for the subjects, and the lease use clause would safeguard the value in terms of any alternative proposal. A community benefit assessment was carried out considering criteria which reflect the council's key priorities and objectives, concluding that the community benefit is deemed excellent, equating to a discount of 100%. And it's therefore proposed to lease Fernigare Hall to the Martial Arts Community Hub for 25 years with agreed break options for £1 per annum, and I would refer members to the recommendations in paragraph 2 of the report and ask that Fernagare Hall and Carlisle Road, Fernagare, be leased to the Martial Arts Community Hub, subject to the terms and conditions outlined in section 5, and that the Executive Director, in conjunction with the Head of Administration, be authorised to conclude all matters in respect of the lease. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jerry. I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions or comments? Colin Dewar.
Thanks, Chair. I'd just like to welcome this item and the community asset transfer to Martial Arts Community Hub. Obviously, Dean Creamer will be managing the facility, and the length of the lease should hopefully allow them to invest in the future of the facility for the benefit of current users and local residents in Fernagare alike. Thanks.
Thanks very much. I'll echo that. Been in my ward as well, a local boy, like Colin is. Kenny McCreary.
Thanks, Chair. I don't know anything about Fernagare Hall, to be honest, but I've got a kind of general question about all these cats, if I can maybe ask it at this time.
Carry on.
So, on page 6, section 362, it says, for whom the facilities or activities are primarily intended and the broader community. And it goes on in the second part, next part, 3.7, to talk about hire the hall to the local communities and interested organisations. So my question really is, how do we ensure that this is being used by the community and not just run as a private business? Perhaps this one, perhaps this one's different, but I recently visited one in my ward, and the whole floor area was covered in mats, like training mats, and with a boxing ring in it, and it couldn't be used for anything other than martial arts, if you like, or boxing. So they might say they could move the mats, I don't know, but it would be quite a big job to move if you imagine a room maybe half the size of this one, moving all these mats is quite a task. So that's my question really. How do we ensure that it is generally being used by the community? And indeed, how would the community book these halls? And this is, again, this is a theme through all of these. Is there going to be a booking system? Is there a phone number you phone? And how well publicised is it? Thanks, Stuart.
Thanks, Kenny. And I know you had made previous inquiries about that, and I share that because I had a situation where I spoke to Kareem in Fernagare, because the main hall is filled with mats because I think it's Taekwondo. The mats can be lifted, although it's quite a task, as you said, but I'm going to ask Jerry. Jerry, get a comment.
Yeah, thank you. Exactly that. In most of these cases, particularly with the leases, it will be part of the lease conditions that there's an agreement in place for community use. That will be site-specific, depending on what the accommodation provides. In some of them, for example, there's a main hall and a secondary hall. The main hall may be set out specific for a use, the secondary hall retained for alternative uses. Similarly, as you suggest, the mats are, technically speaking, movable, and for pre-agreed could be moved to accommodate community use. But the control of these halls effectively is handed over to the community groups under community asset transfer, particularly the full cats, and the monitoring of it, etc., is only able to be done through the lease conditions. We wouldn't be in control of the booking or the day-to-day management of it, but it would be in negotiations with them and part of their business plan, the assessment of it and how they would produce it, but we certainly can't monitor it.
Okay, that, Jerry. Kenny, sorry.
It's a good deal, £1. I don't know if this one's £1 a year, but £1 a year. Normally our halls would be, of this size, would be in the region of maybe something like £20,000 a year. So we're giving them a good deal. And don't get me wrong, I'm a conservative and a capitalist, so I'm not against people making money. Okay, and I'm amongst friends here, as you can see. But I just want to make sure the community are getting a decent shot at this. I guess that's my point. And it's easy for community groups to book these halls. That's all. Thanks, Chair.
Kenny, it's a point well made. And in Fernagare in particular, I know they have other halls, as Jerry had suggested, but it depends on the size of the group. If you wanted to have a large function, then that could happen. I have spoken to Kareem, one of the guys who's running Fernagare Hall, about a function that was due to take place. It was on New Year's Day, and it didn't take place because of the additional problems associated with that, getting staff in. But the mats could have been moved, but they just, the let didn't take place, not because of the mats, just because it was New Year's Day. So, Jerry, if we find that we're getting feedback from the community, just on the point that Kenny has raised, what sort of recourse do we have there then, if we feel as if, no, hang on, this whole group isn't sticking to their side of the bargain? What recourse have we got?
Thank you. The recourse effectively is depends on the conditions of the lease. If it's let with a specific use clause, then as landlord we have control over that. And like any lease, if someone is clearly breaking the terms of the lease, we can irritate the lease at worst case scenario, or we can impose restrictions on it. So it's a legal matter. But touching on the point about the cost of it, there is a community assessment, and the community benefit is reflected in the value of it. Yeah. But you're right, with a lot of these it is negotiation and local agreement.
Okay, thank you. Just an extra bit of clarification there, Kenny, if that helps you. Jerry, you want to come in?
No, I take it, that's it. We can take it back off them. If they're no adhering to the spirit it was intended to be, the council would step in.
Okay, that gives us some assurance. Maureen?
Hi, it's just, it's not in relation to this, it's just when you mentioned that when they submit their business plan, just recently there was a local group submitted a business plan, got the CATS transfer, and it was to do with health and well-being and children and all the rest of it. The next thing, they're in for a bar licence. So you just kind of think to yourself, I was really quite taken back with that. All the principles was for health and all the rest of it, but they came and asked, they didn't get it, but you kind of think that wasn't part of your business plan. And I was really quite disappointed when I seen it, and David was on the same board as me. Yeah. And you just think, this is wrong. We gave them that, and that's that kind of guarantee, especially when they're using young ones to encourage them to come in. And actually their business plan for the premises licence meant that children could float about all the time, and they thought that was okay. These are things that we need to be careful of.
I'm going to just ask Jerry and again here, the one that Maureen's speaking about was an actual purchase. We don't need to mention which one it was, it doesn't matter, but it was a purchase. In that case, what's the recourse, if any? And it's probably none, I would imagine.
Yeah, no, you're correct. Once we sell it, obviously we lose control of it. But the point is that if anyone to use a property has to have the relevant consents in place, whether it be building, planning, or indeed a licence, and those would be the default against an improper use.
Yeah. So the board did its job, Maureen. It protected the 5 licensing objectives. Yeah. Okay, so we'll agreed on that. Next item on the agenda is number 3, community asset transfer of Stewartfield Community Centre, East Kilbride. Again, Jerry McParlin.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report, which is contained in pages 11 to 15 of the papers, is to advise the committee of the request for a 2-year lease of Stewartfield Community Centre, East Kilbride, to East Kilbride Gymnastics Club, and seek approval to the principal terms and conditions set out in Section 5. The community centre was formerly owned and managed by South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture, and following the review of the business plan was reverted to the council. The Gymnastics Club submitted an application for a 1-year concession lease, which was approved at Housing and Technical Resources Committee in September, and the premises was transferred in November. The organisation has now submitted a formal community asset request for a 2-year lease of the subjects to enable them to continue to operate the facility and further develop a longer-term strategy. This was validated on the 6th of September, and it was put on the Council's planning portal. The closing date for responses was October the 6th, and the main comments received relate to the use of the existing groups, and the group have confirmed that during the lease, the smaller hall will continue to be offered for the use of local community groups. The organisation, again, is a SCIO and has a number of committed and highly capable individuals who have been involved in the operation of the group for a prolonged period of time. And under their governance, the organisation has grown substantially and operates in a professional and financially prudent manner. The purpose of the CAT is to create a gymnastics academy specifically focused on additional support needs and primary age children, and doing so meet the demand the organisation has already created. The main sports hall will continue to be used exclusively for gymnastics, with the smaller hall being available for a wider range of uses. The application is for an initial 2-year period, and the group have already successfully applied for and received grant funding from Scottish Gymnastics for operating the facility. This will be an ongoing grant for the next few years and will aid them financially to operate the hall in that time and develop a sustainable future. The Council has no alternative operational requirements, and the lease length and use clause would safeguard the value in terms of any other development. A community benefit assessment was carried out considering criteria which reflect the Council's key priorities, concluding that the community benefit is deemed excellent, equating to a discount of 90 to 100%. The group themselves requested a rental of £2,000 per annum, which, having been assessed and is considered an appropriate value and corresponds with the community benefit discount. It is therefore proposed to lease the Stewartfield Community Centre to East Kilbride Gymnastics Club for 2 years for £2,000 per annum, and I would refer members to the recommendations in paragraph 2 of the report and ask that the community centre at McNeish Way, East Kilbride, be leased to East Kilbride Gymnastics Club, subject to the terms and conditions outlined in section 5, and that the Executive Director, in conjunction with the Head of Administration, be authorised to conclude all matters in respect of the lease. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jerry. I'll move the recommendation.
I'll second it.
Thank you very much. I've got Elise Frame first, then Andrea.
Sorry, Chair, my hand went up by accident. I do apologise.
Oh, that's fine. Andrea.
Thanks. Thanks, Chair. It's just a quick question. This is for the grant of a 2-year lease. Does this follow on from the initial 1-year lease, making it a total of 3, or do they cross over?
Jerry, yeah.
Thank you. No, this is an additional lease on top of the 1-year lease, so this will follow consequently to it.
Right, so it'll be so it's a 3-year commitment in total. Just yes. 2 years didn't seem like a huge commitment, no. But the 3 years, yeah, that
no,
seems.
It was specifically asked for by the group.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's fine. Thanks, Jerry.
Okay. No more questions. All agreed on that. Thank you very much. Item 4 on the agenda is a community asset transfer of the Fountain Community Centre in Les Mahago. Jerry McParlin again.
Thank you. The purpose of this report, which is contained in pages 17 to 21 of the papers, is to advise the committee of the request for a 25-year lease of the Fountain Community Centre in Les Mahago to the Les Mahago Development Trust and seek approval to the principal terms and conditions set out in section 5 of the report. The fountain was formerly managed by South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture, and similar to the previous ones, was handed back to the council after the board decision that it could not sustain the services. The Trust approached the Council with a request for an annual lease of the subjects to enable the facility to reopen for community use, and this was approved on the 31st of May 2023, and it has been operating successfully since the date of occupation in August 2023. The Trust has now submitted a formal community asset transfer for a 25-year lease of the subjects to enable it to secure the asset for the community and move the property to a self-sustaining position, releasing dependence or reliance on grant funding and encouraging multiple community activities. It was validated on the 6th of September and there were no comments or objections received. The Trust is a Scottish charitable incorporated organisation and has been operating since 2009. It owns several properties and has considerable funds and income streams. The purpose of the CAT is to continue to operate and develop the facility to meet their aims of benefiting the community of Les Mahago through the routes listed in section 3.8 of the report, and the grant of a long-term lease will allow this to happen and secure sustainability. The Council has no alternative operational requirements for the subjects, and the lease use clause would safeguard the value in terms of any alternative proposal. A community benefit assessment was carried out, considering criteria reflecting the Council's key priorities and objectives, and concluded that it equated to a discount of 100%. It's therefore proposed to lease the Fountain Community Centre to Les Mahago Development Trust for 25 years for £1 per annum, and I would refer members back to recommendations in paragraph 2 of the report and ask that the Fountain Community Centre, Abbey Green Road, Les Mahago, be leased to Les Mahago Development Trust, subject to the terms and conditions outlined in section 5, and that the Executive Director, in conjunction with the Head of Administration, be authorised to conclude all matters in terms of the lease. Thank you.
I'll move the recommendation.
And I'll second it.
Thank you very much. I've got Ross Lambie here. Ross?
Thanks, Chair. Just wanted to congratulate officers and the Lesmago Development Trust on this one. Again, it's another quite complex asset. It's got multiple components to it, catering facilities, a soft play, multiple halls. It's right in the middle of the village. And to be honest, the way they've been running it is textbook. You know, it's really an example of how an asset transfer can go. You know, the place is full of life. And I think maybe if Jerry's minded it, if we're ever going to do some case studies, I'd maybe suggest the Fountain's one of them, because it really is a great job they've done. So thanks, everyone. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Ross. I don't have any other questions. So we're now on to items 5 onwards. And I'm mindful that, mindful that Julia has declared an interest at item 6. I'm going to ask Jerry to come up with a suggestion, but I will deal with Julia's situation in a moment. Jerry?
Thank you, Chair. As mentioned, the next 9 items are all similar concessionary leases, and I would propose to do it by one report and reference all of them. Happy to take questions on any individual one at the end, if that suits.
Thanks, Jerry. And I do know that I've got broad support from that, and I've been suggested this myself early on. So what I'm proposing to do, instead of dealing 5 onwards, I'm going to deal with item 6 first. Julia, you have declared an interest, so can you leave for the moment until we deal with item 6? She left. So Julia is now not present in the meeting. So item 6, I'm just going to move that. I don't think we need to go through it unless anyone's got any questions. I'm going to move the recommendation for item 6.
I'll second it.
Is there any questions or comments or observations? No. Are we all agreed? Thank you very much. Can you bring Julia back in now?
Yeah.
Maybe Julia's away having a cup of tea while we're dealing with this one. We'll be done very soon anyway, so we can. All right, she's back on.
Yeah.
Thanks for your patience, Julia. That was quite a long discussion we had on that one, so hope we didn't keep you too long. So I'm going to deal with items 5 and then from 7 onwards, and I'm going to move all of the recommendations on block.
And I'll second them all.
So that's quite a lot of items. Happy to take any questions in any particular one that anyone may have. And I'm not seeing any hands up. Wow, as Stephen said, this might be a record breaker today, so I don't know what the record is, but this is pretty good. So here we go. Walter.
Thank you, Chair. It would be remiss of me if I didn't thank the group and all the team and all the officers for the work they've done for the North Halfway Hall, especially getting it watertight. It's been a long year for the new group. They've been excellent. So I'd like to acknowledge the group's work in this and thank everybody for their efforts. It's been a hard course. It's a difficult process. It's a new process. So thank you to everybody.
Well said, Walter. Thanks very much. So I don't see any more hands up and I have no items of urgent business, so I'm going to bring the meeting to a close and thank you all for your attendance.
Well, thanks to the chair.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.